Hello, everybody, and welcome to Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe podcast. Today we have quite the week for you. I'm your host, Daniel.
And I'm your other host, Callum.
And wow, is this a busy week. We have 8 titles to talk about. We're going to take you through Revolutionaries number 7. We're going to take you through ROM number 12. Micronauts, Wrath of Karza number 4. Aw Yeah Revolution number 3, Jim and the Holograms Infinite number 2, M.A.S.K number 9, First Strike number 2, and ROM vs. Transformers Shining Armor number 2. Lots of number 2s, I'm just now realizing.
But it's the busiest fortnight there's been since we started this podcast, isn't it?
Right. I feel like there was one time when we started, it was either episode 2 or something that was had a bunch of titles, and this is coming close to probably our busiest week that we've had.
I think it really is.
Yeah.
But before all that, we have got news in the form of the November solicitations,
yes,
which came out this past week. Yes, and actually, not that many solicitations, because one title that was due to start in November, the G.I. Joe Unmasked, the new ongoing, with, I think it is just Matt Tracker, isn't it? It seems to be joining G.I. Joe. That has been bumped from November to December. So that and ROM and the Micronauts and Visionaries are all starting in December now.
Which personally is something that I'm actually glad that they're doing. I always thought it was weird that they were releasing one of the, Joe Unmasked a month before ROM and the Micronauts and Visionary, so I like that they're releasing all the new titles in a single month.
Yeah, because they staggered the post-Revolution number ones as well, which, I assume there is some sort of marketing logic behind it, but it's good. It's nice and tidier, isn't it, starting everything new the same month?
Yeah, definitely as a reader, I am sure that there's some marketing science about it, but definitely as readers, as consumers, I think that it's a much easier thing to just boom, here's a bunch of new titles all in 1 month, and plus it gives them more time to hopefully fix their scheduling issues. Fingers crossed.
It's because I don't know, things that number ones do seem to be number ones aren't getting delayed. It is a case of series kind of slipping behind as they progress. But at some point, surely they have to sort this out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so our first of the November issues is Optimus Prime number 13, which so this is the first kind of post First Strike Optimus issue, and as such, it actually has Optimus in it again after him spending, I think, a couple of issues outstarring in the crossover, and it promises that he's going to venture into the wilderness of Cybertron to search for the first new Cybertronian life to emerge in 4 million years. So I think we're probably looking at follow-up on Salvation, where Tripticon and the Dinobots and Co secured the future of the next generation of Cybertronians.
Yeah, that's definitely what it seems to be hinting at. We also in this issue are getting the return of some characters who haven't been seen since, what was it, Spotlight Metroplex? Is that it?
Yeah, no, yeah, the first and last time.
Right, that was their only appearance.
Yes, first and last time in 2009, Spotlight Metroplex, the Throttlebots.
The Throttlebots are officially coming back, including Goldbug. Now, Callum, you have a theory about Goldbug.
Oh, well, I mean, it's not my theory as such. It sort of started going around, doing the rounds as soon as Bumblebee appeared to die in Dark Cybertron. He was got shot, and his body was pulled into the Crystal City Singularity. Since then, speculation has run amok that what if, Bumblebee, he's still alive, and he got pulled back into the Singularity in time, and then adopted the new name Goldbug whilst he waited to catch up to the present day, because the Throttlebots in Spotlight Metroplex included Goldbug, who at the time wasn't Bumblebee, like kind of IDW had done with Galvatron and Megatron. They made Goldbug a separate character, and so we've since seen Bumblebee in the present day hanging around in the Singularity. But yeah, I still yet wonder if he is, and especially since that has been a plot point that has been brought up recently, and now suddenly, out of nowhere, we have the Throttlebots turning up. Is it actually going to be the case that, yeah, Goldbug is Bumblebee sent back in time? And if any writer was going to do that, it would be John Barber. So, yeah, I can believe it. I can believe it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this is going to happen. But that being said, I will not be disappointed if this does happen. Although, if they do keep Goldbug around as a character, and then, Bumblebee emerges from the Singularity, and then we have Centurion running around on Cybertron, that would be, to me, the most hilarious thing, that we have these three Bumblebee, look-alike guys who all are completely identical and are all running around on Cybertron. I think that would be hilarious and amazing, personally. So that's kind of what I want to see.
But yeah, I can't see what the Throttlebots would bring to the story other than tying into Bumblebee's story, because the IDW Throttlebots, they are just some guys who got beat up by Six-Shot once. And looking at the cover, they appear to still be hanging around on that planet where they got beat up by Six-Shot. So,
yeah.
kind of my logic is, why else would they be appearing in this comic now of all times?
Yeah, especially because they're not really mentioned in the little blurb about the issue. It's no. So you do have to wonder how that's going to tie in to the presumed follow-up to Salvation. So it's definitely going to be an interesting thing, and this is also going to be coming off the heels of First Strike. So we'll have to see if anything that happens in First Strike plays into this solicitation and all that. So.
Oh yeah, we still do have that sort of vague hint from American Scott on Twitter that Visionaries may be set on Cybertron, and what that could possibly mean.
See, I really hope not. Honestly, I want Visionaries to be its own thing and to exist off on Prismos and be separate from the rest of because I want that book to be accessible to new people who have never read a Transformers comic before. It's if it is set on Cybertron, that's cool for me as a Transformers fan, but if I know several people from my comic shop who are big fans of Mags Visaggio's work, and so are really excited for Visionaries, but they don't really have any connection to Transformers, or they haven't read the Transformers stuff. So I kind of hope it's not too directly tied into the Transformers mythos, because I feel like that could be a detriment to it, in my opinion.
No, yeah. I mean, but yeah, I almost find myself wondering if are the Visionaries somehow the next generation of Cybertronian life? Because, I don't know. If it really is set on Cybertron, I can't imagine what possible explanation you could have for a bunch of people who are basically humans hanging out there and dressing up like knights.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, and I've been seeing some tweets from Visaggio and Fico Ossio, and they've been, and Sarah Gatos, who I believe is the editor on the book. And they've been talking about how, and that's the thing, and so it's there's still characters like Merklin is still a character in there, and all that. So I don't think they're it's a name slap. I think it's still going to be Visionaries. So I have no idea how it's going to work if it's set on Cybertron, honestly, which is why I don't want that to happen. I want it to be on Prismos. I want it to be separate and all that. But yeah, we will have to see how that goes. Next up, we have Transformers Lost Light number 12. This is the third and seemingly final part of the Mutineers storyline. And boy, oh boy, this cover has the thing that we were all wanting back when the September and October solicitations came out, and that is Defensor about to just, like, bring the smackdown on Getaway. I love this cover so much. Yeah. The little blurb says, "No turning back. Getaway has crossed one too many lines and made one too many enemies. Hunted down on his own ship, the master manipulator has one last trick of his sleeve. Something so shocking, so audacious, that it would put the most evil Decepticon to shame. No one is safe as the Mutineers trilogy reaches its jaw-dropping climax." So Getaway is up to no good because Getaway is bad boy.
Yeah, no, I think everyone is looking forward to a giant robot smacking Getaway around a bit. Like, I'm interested to know quite, like, I don't know, how exactly is Defensor going to fit inside the Lost Light? I guess he's going to be hanging around in some of the sort of hangars or something, because I'm not sure he'd fit into the corridors.
He's like hunched over, you know. So he's like, "Urgh," and he's like, just dropping down his arm just like a little bit to punch Getaway. He's just going to be like hunched over, like crawling through the corridors.
I was going to say, I've got this mental image now of kind of Defensor kind of on his hands and knees through like the regular sized corridors, but like he's kind of crawling through an air vent for him.
I love it. Yeah, but I really do love the cover that they this is, you know, the Jack Lawrence cover, which just has Defensor just standing up. Although a lot of people notice there's no groove, and I can't remember, was groove like the chest piece drawn in on during the Combiner Wars? Because I honestly can't remember and didn't think to go back and check before we started recording. So
no, he was not. Yeah, groove has. Yeah, IDW groove has always just sort of vanished when Defensor is formed. Maybe he's on his back and we just never saw it.
Or maybe he's like inside, like, you know, like inside the chest piece, you know. He's like forming, like, I don't know, some part of it. I don't know.
Oh, actually, see, I'm looking at this cover, and it seems that who colours these Jack Lawrence covers? Is it Joanna LaFuente? But
no, Jack colours it.
Wait, no, he doesn't self-color covers. No, it's Joanna LaFuente that colours his cover A's. And yeah, I just noticed that she has coloured Defensor's kind of regular built-in chest plate in Groove's colours. If you notice, there's also white and red on it.
Yeah.
It's normally. So yeah, like I do.
So maybe that is Groove. Maybe that is Groove. He's like.
Yeah, maybe in the comic universe, Groove forms Defensor's kind of regular chest plate rather than being a sort of odd sort of add-on thing. It does honestly look a bit weird.
Yeah. Next up.
Yeah. We got the final installment of Rom vs. Transformers Shining Armor, issue 5 of 5.
The final installment?
Yeah, the text promises Bumblebee versus Rom versus Starscream versus the Dire Wraiths, and all alliances are off, and it's a fight for survival. And yeah, Star Drive is all in the middle of everything. She's a Transformer. She's
or Star Drive.
A knight, and yeah, I don't worry about her dying, frankly. Like
no, I don't think she's gonna die, especially not with all the positive response her character has gotten. I think what she's gonna do is gonna go off into space, like at the end, and be all like, decide, screw Cybertron, screw the Soul Star Order. I'm gonna go do my own thing. I'm just gonna go off, and so then that way John can like bring her back for Optimus Prime or something.
Well, I mean, assuming it has been selling okay, I would not be at all surprised if we get a Rom versus Transformers something something. Because,
I would love that.
I have no doubt that the fact it's Rom versus Transformers Shining Armor, the reason it has a subtitle, I have to assume, is so that they can do more Rom versus Transformers books.
I would love that, honestly. We also get Gem and the Holograms Dimensions #1. This is the anthology that will be that we talked about. We talked about the announcement. Was that in our last episode or the episode before?
Oh, I forget. It got announced just after SDCC, I think.
Yeah. So whatever episode we talked about San Diego Comic-Con, we talked about this. This is the brand new anthology series that will be the first story will be featuring writing by Kate Leth and art by Tana Ford, and will show the Holograms playing Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, they're going to have a D&D night, the Holograms are, which I love.
I feel like any kind of ensemble, kind of comedy-themed piece of entertainment always it's the rules that you have to do a Dungeons and Dragons episode where they sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons. So, yeah, I'm cool.
Fun fact, I have never actually played Dungeons and Dragons in any way, shape, or form. I've never done that manner of role playing. Yeah, so clearly, that's like we will be one of those things where we're reading this, we're like, we don't know how accurate this is to Dungeons and Dragons. Although, at least this being a Hasbro book, they'll be able to actually use actual Dungeons and Dragons, probably.
Oh, actually, that's a good point. Yeah, they will actually, be able to refer to it as that, and not sort of like I don't know,
and monsters or whatever.
Yeah. And then the second story, because each of these issues is going to have kind of two stories, I guess, sort of 10 pages. The second one is written and drawn by Sophie Campbell, and Sophie Campbell's back on Gem, woo!
Yay!
And it's about the Misfits, plus some new faces. It says the text, take a break to go on a ski trip when all hell breaks loose, and so does Pizzazz's cat. A comedy farce about the Misfits trying to find a cat in a ski resort. I'm 100% there for that. Bring it on.
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to this series. I still need to catch up on all the other all the past Gem stuff, but I'm loving Infinite, and we'll get to that later. But I'm so excited for this, especially because I am someone who really loves anthology books. I really like the idea of having a book that multiple creators work on. Allows for any kind of story. Pretty much, it's definitely something I'm really excited to see. So.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this book, but at the same time, I do feel like it's a bit of a pity that there's not going to be a Gem book in which there can be any kind of ongoing story. Like, if this was kind of a companion title, I'd be good to go. But I do feel it's a bit of a pity that kind of any kind of ongoing plot lines are just going to be sort of on hold for the time being.
True.
But I mean, I guess we haven't seen how sort of how Infinite ends up yet, and they may sort of deliberately have sort of all the sort of loose ends tied off at the end of that. But by the end of that, I don't know. Well, actually, no, there's not going to be opportunity to say tie off the stuff with kind of Jericho and Rio, is there? Because he's not really in it. I don't know. But yeah, that is my one kind of qualm with them going to an anthology book. Actually, no, second qualm, the fact that it's called Dimensions, but
True.
it doesn't involve them getting merged into the Hasbro universe and meeting the Revolutionaries and all the things that I have been fantasizing about for many months.
Although that could happen. They could do just a one shot that is, Gem and the Holograms meets the Revolutionaries or something. And just feature the Hasbro universe versions. I'm just saying, it's possible.
It's like, seriously, that would be the Revolutionaries would be the thing to do, and you would have the four Revolutionaries having to form a band in order to stop kind of whatever threat it is going on, and you've got all the Revolutionaries with kind of holograms makeup, stage outfits and stuff. And like, wouldn't you all read that?
And Cub gets a hollow matter avatar, of course.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. That, but also just Cup in his robot mode with like face paint, because obviously.
Yeah. Yes. Next up, we have clue number 6, which is weird because I'm fairly certain Clue had always been advertised as a 5-issue miniseries. So I don't know what is going on with clue number 6. But yes, so clue number 6, which at last every mystery and motivation is revealed. It all leads up to a conclusion so shocking we can guarantee you won't see it coming. So I have no idea what that means, because I mean we still are baffled as to what is going on in the regular Clue series, like as of issue 3. So who knows what could happen in the next few issues?
Yeah. I don't know, I'm still leaning towards multiple murderers, possibly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's very much up in the air at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, but who murdered who is even like, question. So yeah. Let's see. We also got a couple of trade paperbacks. Micronauts Wrath of Karza, G.I. Joe Volume 2, ROM Volume 3, and Gem and the Holograms Outrageous Edition.
Volume 2.
Yeah,
so
Volume 2.
Yeah.
So this is...
It's effectively the equivalent of the sort of kind of Transformers and G.I. Joe kind of IDW collection hardbacks they've done. It's a hardback series collecting the series. So this is... this second one is issues 11 to 23, so the second half of the original ongoing.
Yeah.
And actually, also there's another trade paperback. The Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook is also.
Yes, and I'm saving this one for last because I wanted to talk about this because that's the thing. I didn't feel like we had much to talk about with any of the others, but with the Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook, I am wondering if this will be possibly like an extended edition, like if they're gonna include any extra profiles in the collected edition. And I wasn't sure what your thoughts on that would be.
Honestly, I'd be surprised if they did. Right? I don't expect that, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where I don't it's not like I expect it, but I would like for them to do that because I think that would be one of those cool things, especially because there are certain characters that have gotten profiles, but there are certain characters that haven't that I feel like should have gotten profiles, like Ironclaw, for instance. The fact that Ironclaw doesn't have a profile in the Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook is super disappointing to me. But yeah, it's that will be the collection of the Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook. It's actually not. It's actually only going to be $18, which is actually like pretty good because I think like the individual issues were like $5 each. So
I think it kind of it's this. I think it's the same price as kind of. It was a 3-issue series, but they were longer issues than normal. So it still ends up the same. It ends up that standard $18 trade paperback price.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. And of course, it says there's 3 backup stories, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know what's going to happen with that, considering that one of those backup stories is apparently not going to be in Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook number 3, but we'll see what happens with that.
Well, I think they'll put it in anyway, because I think at this point it seems reasonably clear that missing backup story is First Strike Zero. So
yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think they'll probably just put it in because I mean this solicit will have been freshly written, I assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, I figure they will probably just put it in because why not? I mean, they might also put that story in the First Strike trade paperback, perhaps, but yeah, I figure they'll probably just put it in the source book paperback as well. Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. Yeah, even if it got dropped from the actual issue.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for the IDW solicitations for November, and we'll have more titles once December rolls around and we get the brand new launches for the rest of the Hasbro universe. Real quick, something I actually forgot to talk about because that we should have talked about at the start of the podcast, but something I forgot was if you weren't aware already, Hasbro and IDW currently have a Humble Bundle available. This is a Transformers versus G.I. Joe Humble Bundle that will let's see, I'll pull up the website real quick, but it pretty much will get you everything from the almost everything from the Transformers and G.I. Joe lines up to like 2016.
It's not. I'd say it's complete for both of them. For G.I. Joe, it's complete up to about halfway through the kind of second volume, and for Transformers, it's complete up to around about Dark Cybertron, like up to around just before Dark Cybertron, I think.
Yeah.
And then kind of there's a smattering of kind of later stuff for both of them. But it's a lot of comics for $25, and I think when this episode comes out, you'll have about a day left to go get it. Because currently 2 days, 22 hours left as we are recording this on Sunday. So yeah, you'll have about a day left to go get it when this episode comes out. So if you do want to get that, kind of chop, yeah, clock's ticking.
Yeah, this was actually very advantageous for me personally because I'd been wanting to read IDW's Joe output, but of course it was like there's so much, and I was like, that's so much money. But the fact is, you can get almost everything from IDW's Joe stuff, the entirety of Phase 1 of IDW's Transformers stuff, and not only do you get several, like the first few IDW collections collecting Phase 2, but you also get Windblade Distant Stars, Combiner Wars, Till All Are One, Volumes 1 and 2, and even things that aren't even in the IDW universe, like Hearts of Steel technically is now, but things like Regeneration 1 or Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Tyrants Rise, Heroes Are Born, which was the World War II era
I
crossover,
believe it
right?
is.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but yeah, it's an amazing collection worth of stuff. Some good, some not so good, but all of it for like a total of $25, and you're helping charity, and you're helping support Hasbro's Children's Fund, which is a great cause. So for $25, it's well worth it. Just a quick reminder though, if you do decide you want to get this Humble Bundle, be sure to click the little section that says where the money goes, and make sure because if you don't click that, most of the money will end up going to IDW rather than the charity. I gave all my money to the charity. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so you get kind of. I think it defaults. If I remember from the last time I got a Humble Bundle, I think it like defaults to sort of most to the kind of content creator, then to Humble Bundle, and then the least the charity, which feels a bit like stingy.
Yeah.
So yeah, click and drag those sliders around, and donate as you see fit.
Yes. So, but yeah, we just wanted to let let our listeners know about that, so that you guys can go and take advantage of that while there's still time. Like I said, there's still going to be about a day left by the time this episode goes up. So hurry up and get on it if you want. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's talk about some comic books. Mm-hmm. First up, we have Revolutionaries number 7. Okay, Callum, what were your thoughts on this book?
Oh, this was a good. Well, there are no bad issues of Revolutionaries really, but it was a good issue. So we got it's the Sergeant Savage issue, and I think the majority, like, I haven't counted the pages, but I think like the majority of it is flashback material that sort of we pick up Sergeant Savage's story, because the last time we saw him, he was it was during the Hearts of Steel flashbacks. We saw him and the Axelon disappear during the Second World War, leaving Krieger and Centurion behind. And now, 50 or so years later, it's 1994, and him and the ship pop back into existence in the underground base in Brasnia.
Yeah, and sorry, you go.
And also there are the adventure team, but it's the 90s now, so they're the Adventure Force.
With
and they've
Miles
got pouches.
Mayhem has his amazing, manly, magnificent mullet.
Yeah, and they got pouches, they got shoulder pads, they all 90s up in this thing.
Yeah, this was a really, really good issue, I thought. Especially because it played the thing, because Sergeant Savage is a character that's very much he's basically Captain America, except without the colorful costume.
It's shameless. Like, the degree to which his backstory was ripped off from Captain America is completely shameless.
Yeah, but I like that they're sort of taking that and playing on that whole man out of time thing by having him teleported to the 90s,
which was when his original toy came out, of course.
Yes, but then having him adjust super quickly to the 90s, and we get this amazing. If you haven't picked up the book, we get this amazing Guido Guidi page done in Guidi's retro style, but infused with 90s extreme image art that just is such a beautiful thing to behold. And I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I was like, is Sergeant Savage pulling a sideswipe from G2? Because it's the same pose and everything.
Oh, no, those are very much some sort of Yanagans. Who did I see making that pun on Twitter? But actually, Natalie Poole, Action Man's friend, she's even got the checkerboard thing going on. That's that G2 sideswipe gun trademark.
Yeah. So
actually, to go into this panel a little, if you've read the issue, we learn that Sergeant Savage, whilst he was operating in the 90s, teamed up with Team Extreme, which comprises the it was him plus the mid-90s cartoon version of Action Man and one of his sidekicks, Natalie Poole, and they are fighting 90s Zartan. And so I like to imagine that this is the same guy as IDW Zartan, and just he toned down his look before the mid-noughties, when he sort of debuts in the start of the Joe ongoing. Because in the start of the Joe ongoing, he's just a regular guy, and the whole sort of shape-shifting. I shan't spoil you for the specifics of the storyline.
Yeah, because I still am not fully caught up with my Joes. I'm reading through it right now.
But Zartan, as he is introduced in, I think it's in a kind of a 3-parter story in G.I. Joe Origins. But when he is introduced, he is just a regular-looking guy who doesn't have a red mohawk or wear a sleeveless leather jacket.
He doesn't have a red mohawk. Lame.
No. And then, also with Zartan, we have got a Toxo zombie, what is that guy's name? I forget
Cesspool.
What guy's. There we go. 2 baddies from I think called Eco Warriors, 90s G.I. Joe theme. Because what's more 90s than eco themed toy franchises.
We were pretty big into that in the 90s, honestly. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, like... Yeah, I love the idea of Sergeant Savage being, like, just adjusting super quickly to the 90s. And, like, because that's the thing, because he is, like, in his 20s.
Yeah.
When he's teleported out of the 1940s and lives... And that's the thing, and he lives not only through the 90s, but into the 2000s when we see him... when we see him. And so he mentions that, like... he spent his 20s playing. He spent his 20s playing Sonic and watching The Matrix. It's like, that's the thing. It's like, it's one of those things about the whole man out of time thing that, in reality, I think, that like Captain America. It's like people like tend to play him as the man out of time, but really, he's the kind of character that would adjust very quickly. And the MCU has done a really good job of explaining that. Or showing that. And so the fact that this Sergeant Savage, but he not only did he adjust to the 90s, he also latched onto the 90s and is like, even into the mid 2000s, is like spewing like 90s phrases like not and all that. It's really great stuff. It's a really good issue. I liked it.
Yeah, and because and then the whole issue leads up to, finally, the totally unexpected reveal that Baron Ironblood is Joe Colton. Oh my god, who could have seen this coming? We had no idea this was the case.
Honestly,
wow.
It makes me feel like if this had just been out like a week earlier, if this had just been out 1 week earlier. But yeah. But I will say this: I did really like that they tied the Baron Ironblood costume into the Skywatch suits from all the way back in. Oh God, when did those costumes first show up? Spotlight Soundwave, I want to say.
It would have been because it's this base that they are kind of excavating in that. Yeah. Yeah,
but that's the thing. So. They tie Skywatch into Joe Colton. So apparently Joe Colton was in charge of Skywatch, or at least was, one of the heads of Skywatch back when that stuff happened. And I really like that Barber has been, sort of using Revolutionaries not only as an opportunity to explore the wider Hasbro universe's past, but also to connect the disparate parts of G.I. Joe to the Transformers, like past mythos. I really like that. Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, because we see in this issue that the base that Bludgeon and kind of the gang had established under Mance and Helens in Spotlight Soundwave, it turns out was co-opted by Skywatch and Krieger as a research facility, and they also meet they capture Bugley, who I forget if he was he the only one of that set of pretenders that wasn't in Stormbringer, but he wasn't in Stormbringer basically.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure he was the only one. Yeah, he was just the odd pretender out.
So we get here he turns up as kind of, I guess, one of Sound. Maybe he was off doing something when Soundwave turned up and Mance and Helens erupted, and then he gets back to base and is like, oh Christ, what's happening? Everything's melted. But it's all very clever and kind of nicely done and sort of type there.
Yeah,
it's that nice kind of thing John Barber does, where sort of you take your old continuity and use it as an asset to tell new stories, because some writers are sort of weighed down by existing continuity, but John Barber books always kind of, they use the continuity as kind of as a resource and a jumping off point to do new stuff, and it's always nice.
Yeah, and of course all of Sergeant Savage's all the flashbacks and everything are juxtaposed with the current day storyline, which sees which kind of brings the whole series to a head, because we're at a I was about to say G.I. Joe headquarters, but we're actually at an Onyx building trying to fix where Garrison Blackrock is trying to fix the Joes that had gotten turned into dire wraith-like creatures back in issue 1. So hey, remember that thing from all the way back in issue 1? Hey, that's still a plot point.
It's very much a sort of bring everything together, because Major Blood and the October Guard come back.
Yeah.
This is essentially part 1 of a 2-part finale, pretty much. At least the kind of the present day parts are.
Yeah, and so it all sort of comes to a head with Baron Ironblood and Storm Shadow and the October Guard, the Red Shadows, all that. And unfortunately, my boy Centurion, I thought he had turned good, but he was still working for Krieger, and it's like, no, Centurion, no, why would you do this to me? I thought you were my boy. You were the chosen one. You were supposed to bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was a great issue, and one issue left.
One double length issue. At
least. One double issue. Still, which will hopefully explore the Colton as Ironblood thing, and we'll get into this more when we talk about First Strike number 2 in just a few minutes. So, but yeah, overall, this was a really good issue. Definitely, if you're a fan of retro '90s cheese, it's definitely worth a pickup. Anything else that you want to add, Callum?
No, I think I said what I want to say about Revolutionary 7. It's a very nice issue.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Cool. So, moving on, we are next going to talk about ROM 12, which I feel like it's been a while since ROM 11.
It really has. Yeah. It really has been a while since ROM number 12. I will say, this is one of the things that I feel like is kind of the problem with ROM number 12 is it's always really consistently good, but at the same time it's very decompressed and all that. So it's like I feel like there's like the individual happenings aren't a lot, and so there's really only a few things to really highlight. But overall, this was another great issue of ROM. Callum, what did you think of this issue?
Yeah, no, it's a good issue, but yeah, like you say, I feel like ROM is sort of... I don't think it's kind of gotten quite as bad as, say, G.I. Joe has at times, but yeah, it is definitely a bit sort of... It is suffering a bit from sort of written for the trade-itis.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just the story arc, or if it has been, the scheduling problems that have made it feel that way. But yeah, it definitely has felt like I feel like more should have happened by this point than has really.
Actually, I've also just now noticed that did the backup story cut into the page count of the main story last issue?
I'm not sure.
Because I've just counted the pages now, and yeah, the main story runs 16 and the backup 4. So that, in part, then, is why it feels like not a lot happens in this issue, because, yeah, the main story is only 16 pages.
Yeah. That's probably it. That's probably a contributing factor. Less page count means less can happen, so... Yeah, but anyways, let's get on to talking about... So, one of the really cool... So, first off, I am so mad that I apparently called it. I knew something was going to happen to one of the Space Knights on Earth. And so spoilers if you haven't picked it up, but it apparently seems like Livia has died. I'm kind of angry about that.
I'm not falling for it yet.
Okay.
If she's still she still appears dead at the end of next issue, maybe, but I am not taking, literally the final panel is her kind of eyes going dark. So, nah, this isn't kind of baked in yet. This is That is a shocking cliffhanger, but I feel optimistic about Livia's chances, if I'm honest. But yeah,
I
wasn't
hope you're right.
it, but yeah, no, I am still optimistic about her chances.
I don't know. It's just, it does to me seem kind of bad that if this is going to be like the first on-screen death of a Space Knight, it's like the fact that you do it to like the most prominent female character or the most prominent female Space Knight. It's like, I don't know, kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'll be quite honest.
Yeah, but if it does actually pan out that like Livia is getting fridged to get kind of raw angry about stuff, then that will
but
I'll leave a bad taste in my mouth. But no, I just checked. But yeah, no, the previous issue as well, it was 16 main story, 4 for the backup. So that is clearly contributing to sort of it feeling like not much is happening.
Yeah,
which I feel sometimes backups do get their like in First Strike, the backup isn't cutting into the main page count, is it?
No.
But I guess kind of you get the budget for that when you're kind of a big 4 extra pages of art when you're a big crossover event, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, and so much of the problem with that cutting in is that so much of these pages are taken up by just a fight scene. You know, it's Rom and Livia fighting the Scylla and Charybdis monsters, and then that's juxtaposed with the Darby Mason plot, which continues. And I have to say that between one story being basically nothing but a fight scene and the other, not dealing with Rom, like, specifically, it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like one of the things that's really starting to hurt, that really has hurt this story arc, in particular, this story arc. But I do want to touch on that. One of the really cool things about Darby's subplot is she, after her last issue, she has retrieved basically the arm of Phyla. At least we assume it's the arm. Maybe it's just the armor that was covering his arm, because it's kind of vague. But evidently, Darby can put on Phyla's armor, which I do think would actually be really cool if Livia dies, but then Darby becomes a new Space Knight. I think that would be really cool.
But yeah, it could have. I hadn't really kind of thought about the possibility, but with the kind of the way that we've been shown that IDW Space Knight armor kind of shapeshifts. Basically, it's not kind of mechanical in nature. It is kind of, it can properly shapeshift. It kind of makes sense that it sort of can adapt to a new era and everything.
Yeah, well, and in the original series there was Brandy Clark. There was the who was the main female ally of Rom on Earth, and later on in the series she ends up transplanting her mind into the body of the Space Knight Starshine, and so she becomes sort of a new Starshine. So there is precedent for it in the Marvel series. So I think that would be really cool, is even if they do kill off Livia, I do think it would be cool if Darby becomes a new Space Knight. So, but that's only 2 pages out of the 16 pages. So we really don't get a whole lot to that, just vague hints. But hey, Darby now has an analyzer, so she can analyze and see who is wraiths and who isn't wraiths. So
yeah.
We also continue the backup story, like we said, which deals with Rom and Phyla. Phyla, personally, is a character I really like, based on what little we got of him in the annual. But it's I still love the art on this backup story. Sal Buscema's coloring on this is it gives it a retro feel.
Coloring.
Yeah. Or inking.
Inks. Yeah.
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the colors I think are Alessandra Alexakis, the kind of main book color. But yeah, it's pencils by Guy Dorian Sr. And the inks. And,
Sal Buscema's heavy inks definitely like give this a retro feel, and I do like that it shows the skill of Alessandra's coloring, that she can do the main ROM series in this bright, vibrant, and then like do the backups with this cooler retro style that I really, really dig. And of course, Guy Dorian, his line art is just phenomenal with this weird planet thing that is just it's
not quite a diarrhea kind of weird blob planet.
And of course there's that final page is just a really good page, honestly.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a lovely page. It is like, just with Phylov, like, yes, Rom, we, and then we see the different blobs, like with all the different speech bubbles. It's like such good. It's really good stuff. So I've really been liking this story. I just wish it didn't cut into the page count and the story of the main series. So
it's a pity.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. I still like ROM. It's like every issue is there's not been a bad issue. It's just that this issue has just simply, there's not much to it, and that's really its biggest weakness, is just that not much happens. But anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think we've covered sort of everything I had to say about it. Yeah, I'm honestly more interested in the Darby subplot at the minute with her getting that gauntlet than the kind of Rom and Livia fight a sea monster wraith thing, which is like, it's reasonably pedestrian. Like, I'm interested to see how the thing with the analyzer goes down. Because I assume that is kind of, basically that's on Darby's arm for good now. I assume, based on what we know about how Space Knights work.
Yeah, that's definitely the more interesting stuff, is the ongoing threat with the humans at the center of the Dire Wraith War. And that's something that the Marvel series was able to balance very well. I don't feel like I should be comparing the IDW to the Marvel series, except it's kind of impossible when I've been going back and rereading it, and it's one of those things. But there was always, when Rom was on Earth, the focus was always on like, very much was on the humans, like the human factor, and the human versus Wraith, at the center of the conflict. This, I feel like, is distracting. The tentacle, the sea monster wraiths are distracting to that human stuff. That's saying we like, and of course the plot. We have our three main characters, because really, in that first arc, we have three main characters. We have Rom, we have Camilla, and we have Darby. Rom and Darby, are in this issue, but Darby is barely in it, and Camilla's not in this issue at all. Like, her story is just kind of left, to the sides, and that's something I really. That's actually one thing that I kind of worry about when it comes to ROM and the Micronauts, is adding the Micronauts. Is that going to help, or is that going to hinder? Yeah,
it is kind of regrettable and sort of slightly odd, I feel, that kind of both of the main kind of human characters from the first arc have ended up getting kind of separated from Rom and kind of not really part of like his story anymore. It's odd. My hope for kind of Rom and the Micronauts would be that perhaps the other Space Knights leave Earth, or maybe Livia will stay dead, I don't know. But my hope for Rom and the Micronauts would maybe be that kind of the other Rom is the main Space Knight around, and kind of the only Space Knight around again, and then at least one of Camilla or Darby is kind of hanging out with them again along with the Micronauts. Wow, that's what I'd hope for, at least.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. Speaking of the Micronauts, we have Micronauts Wrath of Karza number 4. So Callum, I want to get your thoughts on this issue first before I jump into my thoughts.
Again, I think it is in the same way that issue 3 was. I think it's it's an improvement on the first. It's better than the first 2 issues in the same way that issue 3 was. It's a bit pacier. There's more going on, and there's less sort of dithering. Things are happening. Because actually, wait, does this issue have a Ron Joseph interlude? It does. A very brief, 2 pages of is that 2 pages? Is that Ron Joseph art? Yeah, no, 2 pages just arbitrarily that aren't even a flashback or anything.
Yeah.
Are Ron Joseph art. But yes, it's oh, sorry, yeah.
Which I will say, at least it's not one of those repetitive as heck time traveler, ooh, time is all things, mumbo jumbo. At least it's advancing the plot compared to all the other Ron Joseph stuff. I will absolutely take just 2 pages of the normal story, a different artist for some reason than the let's pause while Baron Karza blathers for 2 pages about time travelers. I'm glad to not get that. And so what do we have going on in this issue? We've got the Micronauts. It's open trying to interrogate Membros. And and then Karza, and it's confirmed, isn't it, that it's Commander Wraith, isn't it, in this issue? He's referred to by name. He's just gotten a lot more desaturated for some reason. Yeah. And we get a nice big fight scene with the aliens and Megatron. And which Megatron continues to be just delightful.
And we get the Transformers turn back up in sort of a proper capacity. RC, Jazz, and Optimus are are there, and they're doing stuff, and I like the panel where RC remarks about fighting these things makes me feel a bit like King Kong, just as she's casually smashing a Hornetroid spaceship against Optimus's shoulder.
Sorry, anything else?
But no, it was a good issue for this series. I think there's lots going on, and the plot is moving forward. Although in terms of plot, the one thing I just found myself very confused by is how Akroya just magically takes command of the Akroya 3s.
Yeah, that was super rushed, honestly.
Or even how he breaks the reconditioning. Did the reconditioning not work in the first place? Or is he overcome it, or what? Just he turns up and Karza's like, the missing member of your entourage has arrived as Iron Rail, reconditioned and loyal to me, and still an outdated model, but I thought you would enjoy seeing him one last time, and such. And then just Akroya's like, nah, sorry, they work for me now. And with no explanation.
I'll be honest, I think I figured out my biggest problem with this series, or at least this issue. This feels like it was it was planned to be an event. Everything about this issue specifically, I think, is the biggest highlight of it, but everything about this series, because this is apparently supposed to be the Earth War that was hinted at, in the Micronauts, but it has never felt like it. This has never felt like Baron Karza was actually invading and taking over the planet.
Yeah, we got sort of very, very occasional splash panels of some giant Akroyas punching tanks or something, didn't we? And then that's about it.
And there was that brief thing with the other villains, but even then that felt like, he's starting his invasion. No, apparently the invasion has been going on, but it's never felt like it. And this issue, and I think that's the biggest problem, is something like this should have been an event unto itself. And the fact that the Transformers are just randomly here feels like this was written to be an event, like wherein the Transformers factored in. But the fact is, we haven't seen anything else regarding the Transformers, like outside of RC, Jazz, and Prime. We haven't seen anything else regarding the M.A.S.K team, G.I. Joe, ROM. Like, and it does not feel like this should be the middle of the invasion. It still feels like it's the beginning. And quite frankly, like when I realized, like when I was reading, and it's like, oh wait, we're in the middle of the invasion. It was like I had to just think about it for a moment. It's like, how? Because and I think that's probably its biggest weakness is it's trying to be too big. It's trying to be bigger than it is, And I think that's probably the biggest weakness of this series. And the fact is, it's only a 5-issue miniseries, and that's the thing. Because of course, the thing, they just rush through the Acroyer stuff. Like, oh yeah, the reconditioning didn't work, and now all the Acroyer 3s work for me. Which, I'm glad that they did finally confirm that they're Acroyer 3s. But then, and of course, then at the end, it's like, hey, Baron Karza, you're defeated. And then Shazraela is like, oh yeah, Shazraela has time traveler powers because something we're going to reveal in issue 5, hopefully.
Well, because she is visited by a time traveler, isn't she, in the Ron Joseph interlude? So you can see what's gone down there.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, that's not super obvious. It's just a random bubble. It's not.
Well, you got that blue outline. It's kind of. I do like the flipping back to that kind of interlude that. Kind of. Throughout that interlude, she is kind of putting on this sort of Baron Karza style armor that she's got at the end of the issue. It's a good look for her.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course this plays into Shazraela's character, and Shazraela has easily been one of the best parts of Micronauts. I think she's one of the most interesting characters, easily.
Yeah.
Which, but yeah, overall, I mean, this was it was a fine issue for me. It's just, I just did not feel like it really. It just to me felt like this whole thing should have been an event unto itself, and I think that's something does hurt it in the end. Is it feels like it should be bigger than it is, or it doesn't feel as big as it's trying to be, Well,
yeah, it's the pacing is kind of odd. The entire first issue is basically just, here is why everyone else can't stop this invasion. And then the sum total, pretty much, of what happens in issues 2 and 3 is the Heliopolis gets blown up, and then the Micronauts get put in prison, and then they escape from prison, and it just feels a bit sort of pointless in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Why did they need to get put in prison for any length of time? Why couldn't how did that serve the story, having them be put in prison and then escape one issue later? Why not just the Heliopolis gets blown up and they're on the back foot and then we proceed from there? It's oddly paced, I think.
Yeah. And I hate to say it, but one of the things that I could not help but thinking when reading this was how much did Cullen Bunn actually write of this series, and how much are we seeing someone who has never actually published a comic before write this series? That's just something I could not help but wonder was how much of this was actually written by Cullen Bunn, how much of this was actually written by Jimmy Z. Johnson, and just knowing that that Johnston has never actually published a comic before Micronauts, that really made me wonder about the quality of this issue. I hate to say it.
The whole thing with Wrath of Karza is weird because I assume some version of this story existed as a plan.
Oh yeah. This was definitely planned.
Before the decision was made to end the ongoing and make this a mini-series. And you have to wonder, how different was it? And kind of was Well, I mean, I was going to say, was this pacing the same? But then I guess Micronauts has really had pacing issues since, like, issue 7, since it came back after Revolution, honestly. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is the... shoot, I had a thought and I lost it. Oh, right. Well, that's the thing. And, of course, Baron Karza was defeated in Revolution, so it really... I feel like had the series been able to just go on for longer, this would have come, like, maybe even a year down the line, honestly. Like, this would... Like, I feel like if this hadn't, like... If it hadn't been for the whole reshuffling, I feel like probably the original plan was for this to happen a year or maybe even 2 after Revolution, you know, like for it to be quite a ways away so that we could see Karza come back. Because as it stands, like, I still thought it was weird that Karza just showed up again at the end of Micronauts number 11.
Well, I mean, his ending in Revolution was he's sucked back into microspace. So you can, like, it's and honestly, like, what would Micronauts have done for another, like, even just another single trade paperback between, the sort of post-Revolution one and this kind of...
I think it would have been cool to see them continue to explore the, like, because clearly Micronauts or Microspace and Earth have a connection. I think it would have been really cool to see them explore that with their new human allies, who, by the way, haven't shown up at all in this miniseries. So I feel like or even encounter new villains, like, you know, or even, like, you know, or even go, you know, time travel to microspace in the past. I feel like there are other stories that can be done, and quite frankly, I think there are other things that could be done other than Baron Karza as villains. You know, it's like, I feel, hey, you know, take a page out of M.A.S.K's book and reach into, like, G.I. Joe, find a G.I. Joe villain that the Micronauts have to face or something. I feel like there could have been more done with Micronauts than was, and it just felt like, but yeah, I just feel like there's more that could have been done with Micronauts than has been done. But
I think ultimately, with kind of, because of course, like, ultimately the kind of the amount of issues it has gotten has been just like a function of its performance, and given that this is the number of issues Micronauts has been able to have, I think it's reasonable to sort of essentially, even if it potentially rush ahead to the end of kind of the story Callum Bunn started, because at the end of Karza, the Micronauts are basically then going to be kind of a blank slate for other writers to use as they please, as is going to happen in One of the Micronauts. So I think ultimately this had to happen. We had to have a big Micronauts finale with Baron Karza, because Micronauts was not going to last any longer than that. So I guess ultimately it makes sense to finish off the current stories that had been being told with them, so that they are there, kind of with no strings attached, kind of going forward.
Right. I mean, I would much rather see Callum Bunn finish off his own plans rather than, the characters getting tossed around and we never actually see the Earth War. I just feel like the way that Micronauts Karza has been kind of a mixed bag in terms of pacing, and this issue really made me think about it, and really I feel like this should have been bigger than it feels.
Yeah,
and that's kind of my biggest criticism for this issue.
I definitely get, like, absolutely the fact that kind of this series has not in any way felt like this is kind of an event, like, kind of in universe. It doesn't feel like a thing that is happening kind of globally, that is affecting the whole world, that it's a big invasion. It's odd like that. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. Like, if Shazraila's playing a big way into the finale, powered up by a time traveler, I'm up for that, because like we were saying, Shazraila is one of the best characters to come out of this. It's like, Shazrael Starscream team up. That was going to happen at some point. But then no, they just betray each other.
Yeah. Well, but they're currently facing off.
Well, yeah.
Which we're saving for later, so we don't want to talk too much about it.
No.
But yeah. Anything else for Micronauts Wrath of Karza?
Yeah, I think we said our piece for that, haven't we? So.
Alrighty, then let's move on to another invasion from Karza, the Aw Yeah Revolution.
Yeah, so this,
which is the final,
final issue. It was originally, I think, announced as 5 issues. Issue 4 was solicited, but then kind of cancelled afterwards, and so it's down to 3 issues, and well, it's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, because, and I've got to say, you can really tell.
Yeah,
you can really tell.
Like, other than the sort of vague finality of sort of Rom getting teleported away from Earth, like, this series doesn't really have an ending. It just kind of stops. Like, it's sort of, like, literally, like, 2 pages away from the end, Destro has the... Well, actually, yeah. So, it's... Yeah, like, the Micronauts get sent back to microspace, and Rom gets sent back to space. But then, we've got... Cobra still has the Orbsar gem and everything, and then the Transformers turn up, and then that is what we are given for sort of a conclusion to the story going on, that some Transformers are here now. It's so odd. Like, I don't think this I think if it had been 5 issues, this issue would have been different somehow. I don't think this is literally like they took issue 3 and wrote the end and the last panel. There's clearly been some changes, but it is kind of a hilariously rushed ending.
Yeah,
to the point, but you're putting quotations around ending.
Yeah, but more in a sad, hilarious way, not a genuinely funny, hilarious way.
Oh no, yeah, it's
and that's the thing. And I feel like this issue really is the perfect summary of this series, which is, like, when this was first announced, I was excited because I love Art Baltazar's work, and but outside of just the novelty of getting to see these characters drawn in Baltazar's style, I was super underwhelmed. It's really just been a very underwhelming series. It's there, it exists, it looks nice, but outside of that, it's like this really didn't do anything substantial, and not even substantial for the universe, because obviously it's it's a kids tie-ins book, but it's it really didn't do anything stand out, like numerous other Baltazar works have done something that really unique or stand out. This one just it goes
through the motion. Yeah, there's not kind of
that's it.
The 18 into it. Basically, the main thing I am taking away from this series is that I'd really like little PVC figures of the character designs.
Yes.
Other than that, I'm not sure I have a lot to say about this series, because and especially this final issue, which sort of limps over the finish line. And so, I'm done, I guess. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There's just not a whole lot that really happens, and when it ends, it just kind of stops, and it's just underwhelming. Like, I'm not even all that disappointed that it doesn't really end. It's just kind of, It's like, but other than that, I can't really, there's not really much to say about this series as a whole. It's meh. It's underwhelming. I feel like it could have been, I was excited for it, but overall it's nothing substantial. So
yeah. It had one or two, there's one or two kind of fun things, the sort of Cobra color scheme Optimus is pretty cool.
And the characterization of Baron Karza as a toy collector, as a comic book nerd / collector, That's great. That was hilarious. This issue didn't really have a lot of that Baron Karza, so it's like, like that's the best part of this series was that version of Baron Karza. So yeah, without that, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would struggle to say much more about this series. It's happened, and it clearly suffers from getting its issue count cut because, this issue just kind of stops all of a sudden and kind of gives up the ghost and says, "Yeah, sure, I'm done," and it's disappointing. And I do wonder, what the hell they'll do with this series in terms of collecting it, because it's 3 regular length issues. That's a really skinny trade paperback.
I mean, I imagine they'll still put it out as trade, just to, at least for the kids, put it in the kids section at the comic book store.
Yeah, I almost wonder if, I don't know, I could see them doing it in, a little sort of, digest size or something.
Oh, yeah, that might work, yeah. We'll see what happens.
Actually, wait, let me check my, what was it that... the comic for the 2015 Robots in Disguise series, the tie-in comic for that, the 6 issues. The trade paperback for that was a little kind of that it's printed at smaller than normal size because I guess it's a kids thing. It's only $15 cover price. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened with this, if they got a sort of small size, physically small sized print, and the kids market. Because it is it's an all ages kind of comic.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a sort of not with a bang but a whimper.
Yeah. But something that definitely has not been a whimper, Gem and the Holograms Infinite, number 2. I really like this series. I really like this whole conceit. Okay, so I love so first off, I honestly have to say I love this dystopia alternate universe where the 1% all have this super gaudy holograms and all that, and it's I'm trying to think of what it reminded me. It reminded me of a very specific book, and now I cannot remember it. Not Hunger Games, but this other book that had people living in a wall and all that, and if you couldn't pay, you get chucked out and all that. But I really love this whole dystopia world. I love the whole conceit of it, and I really loved this issue. Callum, what did you think of this issue?
Oh no, yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? We get sort of, I feel and it's weird because this is sort of, the end of this issue is the halfway point, but I feel it's kind of at this point that sort of the plot is properly kicking off. We learn sort of, the holograms have set out on their sort of quest to meet up with their parallel universe Thad and to sort of do something about evil Gem Corp. And it's a very nice issue. Sort of, I feel this is it's the most plot heavy issue of the series so far. There's lots going on. We learn a lot, so we get to see Eric Raymond is president of Gem Corp, and actually I think is this the first time that Synergy's sinister looking design for this universe has appeared on panel. Yeah. And we learn that he's got a mysterious person in a cupboard, or possibly just a dark room, but it kind of looks like a cupboard the way it's drawn. Actually, any thoughts on who the mysterious person behind the hologram in Eric Raymond's office is?
See, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know if my lack of gym knowledge is hurting me in this regard. But honestly, right now, my thinking is maybe Jim or Jerica or the other holograms. Maybe not just but maybe they didn't kill the holograms. Maybe they're like been captured. Because that's another thing that's revealed in this issue is according to the Benton Emmett Benton, which even not reading, even not having read Holograms, that was a great moment seeing like all the girls just like running towards Emmett and like. Which and just Emmett embracing them all was great. But yeah, Emmett reveals that in this universe, Gem and the Holograms are the biggest stars, but that Gem Corp killed them and has replaced them with just 100% hologram performers, which it kind of is is one of those things where that's kind of echoing of our own world where we can have like holograms of people like Tupac performing. On stages, I really liked that idea.
Also, just as you have been saying that, I had the best idea for a cover in my head though, because they could have totally done for this issue a cover doing the Marvel Transformers #5 thing, and do like I guess maybe like Synergy on the front cover with Gem and the Holograms are all dead.
I love it. Man, that would have been such a good cover. Oh. But yeah, so that's who I think, Eric has in that room. I think it's the Holograms, or at the very least, Jerica. Of this universe. What were you thinking?
Like, evil Gem was my thinking that, she's actually not dead. She is evil. Yeah.
Oh, right, that could easily be it, too. It's good
because like it's clearly not like a prisoner in this like hidden cupboard like
true
sort of they're kind of having a normal conversation with kind of Eric. So I think my thought was that it's Gem / Jerica and she's like a baddie and secretly isn't dead.
Yeah. And speaking of that, they also mention bringing they mentioned bringing in possibly using silica to sort of stop the evil Synergy in this universe, which even as something like that was the computer from the that was the one from the Dark Gem arc, right?
Yes, silica is the baddie from the Dark Gem arc.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, uses music to like make people into to make people like get new edgy outfits and also be her mind control slaves.
Well, you gotta have when one gets mind controlled, they have to radically alter their appearance. That's just standard.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was I really liked this issue. I'll be honest, I completely forgot to read it until earlier today. So if I don't remember it super well, I didn't get a chance to reread it. So, but yeah, it's definitely a really good issue. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the Misfits in the next issue, where they're sort of out beyond the wall, and then seeing how those storylines converge in the next issue.
Because I assume kind of that the end of Misfits 2, kind of part 4 of the crossover, I assume they're going to meet back up with the Holograms, because I can't... Or, I don't know, maybe they'll meet... Actually, no, they'll probably meet back up during Holograms 3, I guess, in time.
Yeah, probably in the middle somewhere.
Misfits 3.
Yeah.
I should post it up, actually, because I think this is it's not been released already. There is, in the digital version of this issue, there is a 5-page preview for Misfits #2.
Yes, which I did not read. I just had to do something, so I didn't get a chance to read that. Yeah. This
event has been going along nicely. I will say, it feels slightly odd that it kind of feels like the plot is only just kicking off, but it's not it's not. I wouldn't say the pacing is bad. Certainly, it's just yeah. But yeah, it's a good event, and this is the first full issue done by Jen Hickman, because she kind of took over halfway through the first issue, but then yeah, she does this full issue, and yeah, so kind of seeing more of it. Yeah, it's nice art. I'm enjoying it.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's a good artist. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, like you were saying earlier, kind of the couple of pages with the holograms, yeah, being reunited with Emmett, the kind of lovely art on those pages. Kind of, you can kind of see in their faces, kind of the emotions they're feeling, and it's very nicely done.
Yeah, that's the thing. You really got a sense of the faces really conveyed emotion well in the art during that scene. Just how happy everyone was, and also like the guilt of Emmett having to tell his alternate universe family that they're dead in this world. Of course, whether or not they are, we'll see. But yeah, that was really good stuff. The artwork in this series has been really good. So
yeah, I think like in general, Gem has had kind of across all the Gem books, there has been kind of a really high standard of artwork. Kind of, there's not been a single artist working on Gem that I've disliked. I know a lot of people didn't like the art on the Stingers arc by Meredith McLaren, because it's very stylized and sort of less kind of cute almost than a lot of the other artists, but it's kind of really stylized and sort of exaggerated in terms of sort of facial expressions and stuff. And I liked that personally. The Gem series has had a very good track record for art, and it's nice that it's continuing.
Yeah. Yeah. So. That's saying this is a really good series. If you haven't been picking up Gem and the Holograms, you really should. It's good stuff. I need to catch up, so but this was a great sort of jump on point for me. So yeah. Anything else?
No, yeah, I think I've said what I was going to say for that. Yeah. So next up, we are going to talk about M.A.S.K number 9. In which our little storyline with I have forgotten his name now. What's his name? The Diary.
Sean Berger.
Yeah, there we go.
See, I don't know if you could hear it, but I was banging my head against the table. God, this series is so bad. I'm actually not banging my head. just for all our listeners out there, I'm just, that's what we in the biz call sound effects.
But yeah, so our storyline there continues. Everyone sort of faffs around a bit. Wraith raises a city. Yeah, it turns out he secretly built a city underground, which has now risen up out of the ground, and it's going to be a city for dire wraiths to live in. And I enjoyed, just as a random thing, I enjoyed the sort of Zartan blood monsters that are just
were cool. They were a cool idea. I like
made of transparent goo, and then they just have a red Zartan hood and face paint.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I will say this: Zartan has thoroughly been the most enjoyable character in this entire series. And that's really sad to say, honestly, but he's funny. He's fun. But the rest of the series, okay, so I don't care about this. I don't care about Sean Berger's plan. Okay, I'm sorry, but he's just a random villain. He's a random monster of the week, honestly. His plan, I'm not even entirely sure makes sense. It's really bad. the art in this series also is just... This is the worst artist we've had on M.A.S.K. I'm going to say it outright. I think this is the worst artist we've had on this series.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Just there's lots of just faces that just look weird. And, like, not weird in a deliberately stylized way, just weird.
The action is very poor. The vehicles are blocky and boring, and, like, it's all just this... It's not dynamic, it's not interesting, it's... Like, it's not even bad, it's not even all that bad, it's just incredibly mediocre art.
It's kind of... It's very by the books, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, like... looking at this one panel of, towards the end, as they're like, setting up their cars to, like, blow them up, or whatever it is they're doing. Like, just this panel of the cars where just, like, they don't have proportions even remotely resembling actual cars.
Yeah, well, and the characters are off-model, like, terribly, like, at times. Like, there's, especially Julio. Like, Julio's helmet looks, like, so weird compared to how his helmet should look. Like, it's honestly kind of ridiculous.
But, visors are weird, isn't it?
But, of course, like, the crown, like, this is not the crowning achievement. I'll also say this, like, at the end, when they're, like, saying, oh, yeah, to stop this villain, we have to destroy our vehicles and our masks. I wish I cared enough about these people and their stuff to actually, like, feel like that's a sacrifice. Because, we've seen their vehicles get, like, blown up before. They're super easy to repair, okay? Let's not kid ourselves, okay? It's like, this does not feel like a sacrifice. And, of course, then, finally, there's the crowning achievement of pissing me off, quite frankly. Freaking Venom. Fucking Venom comes back in this issue. And just pisses me off. Like, oh. Callum, thoughts?
This issue it's basically sort of about, like, halfway through this issue, it's like the issue suddenly remembers that this is the penultimate issue. So all of a sudden, it's, Venom, the Venom's back, they're breaking out of jail, because they're the main baddies, they're going to be in the, like, finale, and also, they're going to blow up the cars, let's make the stakes really high, because, again, this is the penultimate issue, we just realised. And, well, it's very possible, I suppose, that the way the timeline's worked out, that is literally what happened. Like, actually, no, what's the lead time on solicits? It's... 3 months? No, we just got November solicits, and it's currently August.
So...
Okay, so it's 3 months, so... he probably would have known when writing 8 that he was ending at 10, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
But yeah, who knows? But it's weird the way this issue just... It's like this issue suddenly realises that, oh gosh, I'm actually a penultimate issue halfway through, and then just kind of arbitrarily raises the stakes from kind of monster of the week to, like, it's the end of the line for M.A.S.K, and also Venom are back, and it feels a bit kind of weirdly artificial. Like, I mean, I will say this, like, there was no dialogue in this issue that, like, out of the moment by being weird. So, like, there's something.
I feel like, though, that's honestly just because we've gotten used to it more than anything else.
I don't know, at least, like, last issue, there were, like, 1 or 2, but it was better than normal. And this issue, I don't remember, there was nothing I remember thinking, what? So, like, again, like, there have been far worse issues of M.A.S.K than this, I think, maybe, but it's still a bit kind of, it's weird the way it just suddenly, like, ups the stakes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and kind of careens into, setting up a big climactic final issue.
See, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, after, like, because when for those of for our listeners who haven't gone and checked it out, last week we released an interview that I had conducted with Brandon Easton. Let me tell you, Brandon Easton, cool guy. He is a great guy to talk with, very enthusiastic about his stuff. And so I went back after doing that interview and read some M.A.S.K. And it did not change my opinion on M.A.S.K. at all. And it's really sad that a really cool guy from just and I don't know if it's I don't know who do we blame for this? I don't know, do we blame the writer? Do we blame the editor? Who it's just like this issue was a microcosm of everything that has frustrated me about M.A.S.K., quite frankly, so far. It's like, and it's like, I'm glad it's ending, but it's just, this is, I really wish M.A.S.K. could be better, honestly. Like, it's just, like, M.A.S.K. is a series that I think has such great potential, and the fact that it's just wasted like this, and the fact that we have one more issue, like, honestly, my timeline-obsessed brain just cannot ignore the fact that this completely screws over the annual's placement in continuity.
Yes, no, yeah, I was going to bring that up. So, yeah, between this issue and what First Strike 2, which will be 2, has told us about what goes down in M.A.S.K. 10, it seems like there isn't really any way to fit the M.A.S.K. annual into continuity. And I mean, it's a different writer, so, like, it's not, we can't, like, entirely lay the blame at Brandon Easton's feet, but it's frustrating.
Oh, right.
And,
well, no, but we can probably blame the editor,
Well, it's true, yeah.
Because editors are supposed to think about these things. It's just, to me, it's like, come on, guys, like, I really do have to be honest. I feel like, I feel like we got so used to John Barber editor, and John Barber being a tight-knit editor, that when we have all the other Hasbro titles that have much looser editorial standards, it really does, it really, like, it's just jarring. I think that's probably the biggest difference between the other Hasbro titles and Transformers. Because even Carlos Guzman, who's now the editor on all the Transformers titles, solid he is really good at maintaining these kinds of things. But David Hedgecock, not so much. I hate to say it.
Well, yeah, it's a pity when, like, if you think about and I mean, again, I think it was the only one of those annuals that was written by a different writer to the main book, but, like, you got the Transformers annual, which, like, kind of, how many, like, probably about, like, 6 months later, like, John Barber, like, specifically writes in the point at which that happens. Like, he makes it very clear in his story at what point that annual slots into continuity. Like, Micronauts was worked in to, I think, pretty much go between the issues it came out between, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no, I remember. It came out the same day as Micronauts 9, I remember. So, yeah, and it was set immediately after Micronauts 9. So, yeah, all works out nicely. And then we've got the M.A.S.K. annual, which, by virtue of having M.A.S.K. at the Boulder Hill kind of, gas station base there. Yeah. Venom not being in prison, and sort of every
and having Cliff Dagger in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was always going to be prepared to just overlook where or no it's Cliff Dagger, but
and at least they had the backstory that's like, or the backup story that sort of was like, okay, that could slot. Looks like it slots like before M.A.S.K. Revolution, So it's like, so we kind of already had some people on file. You could pretty much say for Miles Mayhem, but it's.
And then so we've learned from First Strike 2 that apparently Gloria Baker leaves M.A.S.K. during issue 10. So like, unless there is a time skip during issue 10, between kind of the conclusion of whatever is happening with Venom and M.A.S.K. near Mount St. Helens, between that and Gloria Baker leaving, there isn't really anywhere to put the annual, because it can't be before the main series starts, because none of them knew that, well, depending which issue you read, they didn't know that, like, Sly, Vanessa, and Bruno are alive, or possibly they didn't know Miles Mayhem was alive either, depending whether you're looking at issue 1 or 2 of that series. It can't happen during that first 5-issue arc, because there's no free space in it. I think, in which, because I think, like, a bunch of it, they're on a boat between issues, and they're not on a boat in the annual. And, like, who is it? Brad gets, or is it someone gets hurt? Is it Brad or Julio? One of them
Brad.
One of them gets hurt, and he's not hurt in the annual, and so there's no space in the first arc. Then after the first arc, Venom are in prison, and so Oh, and actually, it also can't be before the main series because they didn't have Boulder Hill then. And so we are left with nowhere to put it. I suppose, like, could you work it and say, like, Venom got out of prison but then got put in prison again?
Maybe, except you still kind of have to account for Cliff in that. I hate to say it, so...
I think, like, you're always going to have to just forget about Cliff Dagger and just say, like, I don't know, he went out to get shopping or something.
I don't know, he wasn't available or something like that.
But that's correct. And we know that it's definitely not an out of continuity story because the events of First Strike 2 hinge upon it. So it's we'll get on to that.
Well,
I suppose.
Hinge on it, we'll see if it hinges, but they mention it. It is
it is actively mentioned, and a thing, and the technovirus thing from it comes up as in First Strike. So. Which you can't just toss it out the window, and it's all a bit frustrating.
It really is one of those things where, like, you just have to like that M.A.S.K annual. You just have to wonder why. There's so many questions you have to ask. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Like, why did they even hire a completely different writer to write it from the main series? Like, it's so frustrating, but I'll be honest, I don't think Venom should have been, like, the fact that Venom just shows up in this really feels like Brandon had already written, like, number 8, and then was told, hey, you're ending at issue 10, and then was like, okay, well, I guess I've already finished the story and left it on to be continued, so I guess I'm gonna have to squeeze in Venom so we can, have Venom in the finale, and maybe that is what happened, and maybe, it's just circumstances working against him, but quite frankly, this issue has become the microcosm of everything that I do not like about M.A.S.K.
Yeah, and with I sometimes feel like slightly guilty for just like being a big nerd about things fitting into continuity, but like it should be hard to just put in the effort to make stuff like that work. It's not expecting the world. It's I don't know.
Well, and if there's any medium that should be expected to have nerds complaining about timelines and continuity, it's comic books, guys. Come on. And
I mean, especially considering that this is it's a shared comic book universe composed of 8 series. It shouldn't be that to keep a lid on things, you'd think. So it's frustrating when it does go down the toilet in the way it has here.
Well, because it's quite frankly, in my opinion, as someone trying to be a comic creator, to me it is the ultimate declaration of we don't care. We don't care about our story, our overarching large narrative making sense. Screw you for trying to make sense of it. That's what it feels like to me, quite frankly. So
Yeah, actually, I suggested on the Allspark that one way to solve this continuity problem would of course be just to decanonize the main M.A.S.K ongoing series. That's the pragmatic way of going about it, clearly.
hey, all I'll say is if I had my way, if I got to be the next writer on M.A.S.K and I got to do whatever I want, that would definitely be what I do.
I mean, and because the M.A.S.K ongoing basically kind of contradicts Revolution. I mean,
no, see, okay, all right, I figured it out. So this whole thing, the whole main M.A.S.K series, that was Miles Mayhem put them all into some sort of dream thing to see what would happen if they reacted to certain protocols or certain events and all that. And so he's been testing them. So then they get out like right before the events of First Strike, and then they split ways, and then they come back together for First Strike. That's my headcanon, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, see, I was just going to say, like, it's Matt Tracker having, like, an angsty dream. Because I feel like that's the kind of thing IDW Matt Tracker would do, just...
Really it is.
This is a series about Matt Tracker, like, angsting about things. So, yeah, like, this is just Matt Tracker, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the night after Revolution, and Matt Tracker is just arbitrarily blaming himself for everything because that's what Matt Tracker does, and he has a big, extensive 10-issue long nightmare about it being a British leader.
That would explain why everything looks weird and why there's so many inconsistencies.
Yeah, no, that's a dream down to a T. Like, things look kind of weird. Like, there's no inconsistency from sort of like moment to moment. Yeah, I think we've hit on it. Yeah.
Boom, we figured it out. Alrighty.
So, yeah, we've been talking about it a fair bit. So, shall we move on to First Strike number 2?
Yes, please. So, I still really like this event. I thought it was fun. I like this issue.
Yeah.
Callum, what did you think?
No, it's lovely, isn't it? I will say immediately that I am not a person that disliked Revolution. I loved Revolution. I thought it was big, kind of fun, bombastic, sort of bashing your toys together in the kind of sandpit, kind of barrel of fun. But
I liked Revolution, didn't love it. It's like I admit that it has plenty of problems, but it's like I still liked it in the same way. So,
but yeah, it was very much. That was very much kind of. It was on the whole a kind of a plot focused event. So I am really enjoying what First Strike is doing, and by sort of having more of a kind of a character focus, like essentially Scarlet is the main character of First Strike. Like Megan Scott has said as much, and like apparently Scarlet for her is sort of like favorite childhood character kind of thing. So yeah, this is like a dream job for her, and it shows kind of. It shows like it's a really sort of nice character focused story, and I think very nice pacing as well. Like Revolution, I suppose again kind of it was something kind of Revolution had to do, but Revolution spent a lot of time kind of moving things into place, and like kind of the first 3 issues of Revolution are basically all about introducing things and moving things into place, whereas kind of First Strike kind of that's already been done. First Strike kind of got straight into it. Issue 1, lots was happening, the plot was moving forward, and the same can be said of this issue. Kind of everything is sort of trundling along at a very nice pace. We're getting sort of new questions being raised and new characters being introduced. So Shaz Rayla kind of debuts properly into the series.
Yay.
And she. And as we had all predicted, I think by this point, she interchanges with the Ant Transformer, who is presumably Antagony. I don't think she's referred to by name, is she?
No, no, she's not referred to by name, but
it's big purple ant lady. So it's Antagony.
Yeah.
And so she interchanges with her, and now Shazraela's a big Transformer. and like, I'm not going to complain. Shazwayler's great. And so yeah, and as mentioned, the the techno virus from the M.A.S.K annual gets brought up a bit as Scarlet goes to recruits Matt Tracker and Gloria Baker. Clearly, Matt Tracker and Gloria Baker are Scarlet's favourites because it's them that she sent to help the Revolutionaries as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. That's actually a really good point, is that when it comes to, like, okay, we need some M.A.S.K people to show up. We're only going to get Matt and Gloria. It's like, I actually kind of dig that idea, you know? It's like, so if, like, you know, it's one of those things where if they ever want to bring M.A.S.K back, they could just bring Matt and Gloria and have a bunch of new people, you know, to get in some of those new characters, you know?
I chuckled when the little kind of profiles, like as in Revolutionaries, when they do the profiles with the sort of and guest starring bit every issue. The profile there for Matt and Gloria kind of refers to them. Together, they're the brains of M.A.S.K, just kind of implicitly calling Julio and Brad idiots.
Which Julio's the medical officer. Wow,
he drops out of medical school.
True. Which really, I mean, you do have to wonder, like, you know, how good their health actually is when you consider that. Oh god. Yeah, this. Yeah. This thing, I'm with you. This is a really good issue. I personally, when it comes to M.A.S.K stuff, though, really liked the villains, because Miles Mayhem is there, and
yeah,
man, like, honestly, I will even say that I do even enjoy Miles when he's written by Easton, because Easton writes him as classic mustache-twirling, over-the-top villain. But I do, like, there has not been, like, but I really love the way he's written here. He is written as, you know, like his first line is, "I've been waiting for a chance to get the outlaw into the field." And it's like, and he's driving the outlaw, which A, is an actual toy, and B, is like, has a friggin' snake painted on the side. Miles Mayhem is a big old dork, and I love it.
It's, yeah, actually, let me look up a picture of the toy.
Oh, it's
because yeah, from the art, it's like yeah, from the art it kind of looks like Motormaster like decided snakes were pretty cool one day. Oh my god! The original toy doesn't just have a snake. It's like it says snake oil
I know.
on the side.
That's the thing. I'm really disappointed that snake oil isn't on the side.
Oh god, yeah, because the original it's like a tanker truck, and yes, it says snake oil on the side. That's great. Oh dear,
it really is. M.A.S.K is amazing. The M.A.S.K toys are amazing, and I love them. But yeah, like I love the way we're introduced to Miles, and he's like, Destro, where are the others? And Destro is like, hello, Mannheim. And it's like, I feel like Miles is like, he is like all excited to be here with all these villains and to be fighting Cybertronians. And then there's Destro, who's just like, meh.
Well, you're not even gonna try a Scottish accent for Destro, eh?
Well, you know, I guess I could, but you know, I've been working on my Scottish accent, so I'm not sure if it's really that good. But, you know, hey, it's not as bad as when I was reading that G.I. Joe stuff. And, man, let me tell you, the G.I. Joe stuff, like, the early issues, when they have Destro, and they're, like, the way they wrote out the Scottish accent in that is, like, it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous, mate. It's just, like, Millard, and they're just, like, so over-the-top Scottish characters. I just can't believe it, honestly.
Oh, dear. But actually, and so also this scene with, Miles Mayhem and co. Also, yeah, introduces us to our mystery man, our mysterious person in like tactical gear. Who, well, we know they have a nose and an eye, at least one eye, but we only see them cloaked mostly in shadow, and then they put on a like a sort of like balaclava and sort of thermal headset later in the issue.
Yeah.
And so there has been a theory going around for this, though, hasn't there?
Wait, do you want to hear my theory, or do you want to say the...
I think mine is the same as yours, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my theory, the theory I posited about this, because this character is clearly wearing, like, the tactical gear that we thought was... that based on all the covers, we thought Colton was wearing. But then, of course, it's real... No, Colton is Baron Ironblood. But then we have Baron Ironblood and this character, like, active at the same time. So then that raised, like, a bunch of questions. But here's my theory. My theory is that even if Colton is Baron Ironblood and did create the Baron Ironblood identity, he is not Baron Ironblood in the costume when we see Baron Ironblood. My theory is that is a decoy, that's someone else, that, you know, whoever that is. But my theory is that is Colton, like, has secretly, you know, he's wearing this tactical gear and he's off with the rest of the villains, and they're gonna go plant the talisman, like, in the depths of Cybertron, while some other character is Baron Ironblood. The question now is, who is in the Baron Ironblood costume right now?
Yeah, well, I think it was Chris was suggesting on the Allspark, but yeah, is this Dr. Mindbender? Because he, I think, has been on at least one cover for the series. So yeah,
he's been on a couple.
Is he on more than one? I remember he was on one of the sort of the Alex Ronald kind of painted ones.
Okay, yeah, he's on the Alex Ronald one, but then he's also on Retail Incentive cover B.
Which issue?
For this one.
For this issue?
Yeah.
Let me have a look at that. Yes. Huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, who else is that on this cover? Like, is that like Spike or something? Someone, and yeah, like, who are those people standing at the bottom of that cover?
It looks like, well, it could be either Spike or Flint in their suit, and that's the thing. At first I was like, is that Dr. Barwani? Is that high tech? But then I also thought it might be supposed to be Krieger and Colton, but I think it's supposed to be to me, it kind of reminded me of Dr. Barwani.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
Am I crazy for that?
Oh, I mean, he's got glasses, certainly.
I'm just saying.
I mean, clearly, kind of, the person drawing this cover, like, clearly didn't have references for, like, at least Destro, because Destro is his, like, original 80s design, where, yeah, he's just wearing a metal mask.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know if that... Yeah, that's an interesting question. I do wonder if, like... Oh, actually, thinking about... Hang on a second. Because that person with the blue suit, I think I saw the other day, whilst I was investigating G.I. Joes, there is a... there is a Collectors Club Joe Colton, who is, like, with the kind of beard and also wearing a blue suit. So is the guy with a beard and a blue suit Colton referencing a random action figure of Colton? And then could the guy with the glasses be, like, I don't know, some other villain from this being referenced for some really random action figure?
Maybe. I mean, like I said, it could also be General Blitz. It could be, you know, or it could be supposed to be General Blitz. I don't know.
So to divert from this slightly odd tangent we've gone on,
yes,
we get a bit more Transformers stuff in this issue. So we've got Starscream and Elita 1 have a nice argument in this issue. Yeah, because of course, this is an issue that Megan Scott is writing. So we have got some
Tallulah 1 characters factoring into things.
Yes, Alita 1 is definitely... especially because we know Alita and Optimus are going to be... And it is weird, though, to always... Because let's face it, Alita 1 is a character who, unless you count animated, which I don't, is a character who has pretty much always existed as, like, you know, one of... as, like, you know, on the, like, the counterpoint, or not the counterpoint, like, you know, one of Optimus's, you know, close circle of friends, you know, like, you know, I mean, basically his girlfriend. So the fact that you now have an Alita 1 who is very different and is on the complete opposite side of Optimus Prime, and you have those characters coming to blows finally, that's something really interesting. That's the thing. I've been waiting for this conflict since we first met Alita back in, back in, what issue was it in Windblade? Was it... Was it number 4?
She first appeared in the final issue of Combiner Wars, which I think was like issue 3 of the second volume of Windblade.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually, is this the first time that Optimus and Alita have met?
I feel like it is. If it's not, please,
like, at least,
feel free to correct me. But
like, at least interacted in a significant way, I guess. Like,
this is definitely. I'm fairly certain this is definitely the first time they've seriously interacted, and to see it be such a different, like to have Alita and Optimus on on opposite sides of each other, considering their traditional G1 counterparts, that's really interesting to me, and of course, Alita gets friggin', like verbally curb stomped by friggin' Marissa Fairborn, which I loved. Oh, it was such a good. That was a great moment.
Yeah, and then it's just for one brief panel, but it's the Space Knights.
Yeah,
we got Nikomi. We've got Blob
War.
Guy. Yeah, that's it. Do we know the cat? Oh, we do know the cat's name.
Oh yeah, that's Prim, and a character who I think I'm gunning for is Buten. Like, everyone else was like, who's this? I'm pretty sure it's the character of Buten, and if you don't remember Buten, that's not surprising, because she made one brief appearance in the ROM annual. She was barely visible. She was in the background.
We've got to go to this now then.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Tell me where to look.
It's the page where Imperator Carix is sending them on their assignments. So Rom, Livia, and Phylog get sent to their assignment, and then Prim, the cat, and Buten gets sent off to another assignment. She's the only other female Elonian that we've seen, and and then we see what I believe is her armored form in the Hasbro Hero Sourcebook and on the final page of the annual, and she's the only other feminine female knight that we can really see. So that's why I think that's Buten.
Oh right, yeah, the final splash page.
With she's got the daggers in her hands.
Yeah, the daggers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely that design. Is the one with the daggers. Yeah, so it's definitely that daggers one who has been drawn into First Strike. But yeah, I guess it's a question of is it her? I mean, it feels like it probably is.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that there are any other candidates, are there?
Yeah. So as of right now, I'm saying it's Buten. And I feel like we was her name on the list of Space Knights from the source book. Can't remember.
Oh, let me pop that open. Because actually, just earlier today, in fact, I was unzipping the CBZ backup of all the source book issues, because it's way easier to look up a profile by looking through a bunch of pictures in a file folder than it is to go through a CBZ comic issue. in a comic viewer. Yes, no, she is listed among the current members.
Boom. So, all my evidence points to that character being D10.
Who's more?
Mauer.
Or like Mauer.
Mauer, he's the well, he was the guy. He's the kind of like the dragon guy who could like spit the fire in the annual, and who you know, he opened all of his lines like.
Oh yes. So is he?
I think
at
he's.
the art, then is he the one with the cloak and the collar?
I think so. That's the thing. I originally thought he was supposed to be a cow, but the more I think about it, considering like he had that fiery blue thing that he could shoot out of his mouth, I think he's supposed to be like a dragon. Like, and the horns match up. The horns match up.
Oh yeah, it's more, isn't it? Like a sort of a gaping. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Mar. Yeah, like Mar, Maul. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's one of those things. It's comic books, you know. How do you pronounce Dark Side? Is it Dark Side? Is it Dark Seed? Jack Kirby won't correct you, so.
Oh yeah, no, that's. Oh, that's
gotta be
totally him. Yeah, like he's got
Yeah.
spiky bits on his hat. Yeah, that makes sense.
Boom. Yeah. So. But yeah, like, but getting back to First Strike, I actually was not expecting, like, that's the thing. I thought that cover was gonna lie when it showed the Soul Star Knights, but the fact that, like, yeah, that we're getting like these, you know, barely appearing characters like Gwar and Prim and Nakomi, like, I'm really excited to see I hope that they play a bigger role in the story later, you know, like, but I do like that we're at least seeing that they're still active and doing stuff in the galaxy, you know.
Yeah, so it's nice to sort of check in with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean, I'd kind of always kind of sort of assumed that there was probably some reason they'd gotten included on the cover, because like somebody's telling these guest cover artists like the characters they need to be putting on the covers, because I mean, it's not like these are people who are working on interiors and like know who the comic is about. So yeah, I always kind of assumed there'd be some reason why they'd be there. But yeah, kind of the idea of them kind of quarantining Cybertron is neat.
Yeah. And I do hope we get more exploration with that, because with the talisman. Because the one thing about the talisman that has never really made sense is the whole dire wraith biology that it has on it.
Well, yeah, it's sort of a grab bag, isn't it? It's got some connection to Onyx Prime, it's got some connection to microspace, and it's got some connection to dire wraiths. And I hope all that kind of stuff will come out in Revolutionaries 8. I assume it will.
We'll see. Yeah. But yeah. I'd say I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Well, and yeah, I was going to say. So, and also on the Transformers front in this issue, so we got some of the Tallulah 1 cast, and we've also got some of the Optimus Prime cast in the form of Soundwave and Skyburst and Stormclash, and it's always a treat when some of the Torchbearers / Rust Renegades get to do stuff as individual characters. So yeah. We get the Helicopter Twins get to sort of hang out.
Which I believe it's one of those things where Pyra has gotten plenty of development. We got to see a bit more of the car lesbians in the annual, right?
Yes. Jumpstream and Dust Up.
Right.
Yes. No. Yeah. Rust Dust is the little motorbike. So yeah. No. It's Jumpstream and stuff.
But this is, I think, you know, one of the few times we're really getting to see Skyburst and Stormclash.
Only time, I think.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
If not, well, that's the thing. I said that just to cover myself, but I was really thinking like this is the first time we're really getting to see them as individual characters, and I am so happy to see that, because because that's one of the biggest problems with combiner teams. I feel like is characters can sometimes compete for attention, So I like getting to see these two on their own. And apparently they're like really good mechanics and all that. So yay! I like it.
Yeah, I have long maintained that out of like all the scrambles, basically out of all the Scramble City, like G1 Combiner's Swindle is the only one anyone actually cares about as a character.
True.
Like,
well, until More Than Meets the Eye, because a lot of people care about First Aid.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. But for a very long time, like Swindle was the only combiner component that was an actual character in any kind of significant sense, and not just a person who's there to form whoever.
Oh yeah.
Like,
and now, of course, but I mean, even then, that number's still not good. It's like First Aid, and
thanks to Margaret Scott, the Combaticons have all had sort of everyone this out in Tallulah 1. So,
True. But that's very recent, so
it is very recent, yeah. But
yeah,
they've. Well, and I mean, even not all of them, like Vortex and Brawl, don't get a lot to do in that story. But
yeah,
it's better than a lot of fiction has been with combiner teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those guys and Soundwave lead us into our sort of cliffhanger for this issue, which is, attack on Castle Destro, which, So you'll see this as you read through old IDW Joe, but Castle Destro has a slightly interesting history in that it was originally in Scotland, and then Destro had it moved literally brick by brick. He had the entire castle moved to Patagonia, which is where it is found at the start of the original Joe ongoing. And then during the Volume 3 era, around about simultaneously, 2 Destro stories came out in the main ongoing, which was written by Fred Van Lente, so by a new writer for the Light Joe series, and also in the G.I. Joe Special Missions series, which was where Chuck Dixon, who had been the main writer before then, was carrying on doing his thing. And so near simultaneously, there was a story about how Castle Destro had been moved again to Russia, and then in Special Missions, and then in the main book, there was a story where Castle Destro is just in Scotland without explanation.
Please tell me there's a reveal that there's just multiple Castle Destros.
Well, no, it's and that's not the only thing, in fact, that is like contradictory to these 2 stories, because also like Beachhead gets captured at the end of the Special Missions story, and he was never seen to be freed throughout the remainder of Special Missions, but then he's just hanging out with the rest of the Special Missions team still when they cameo in the Destro story in the main book. So you just kind of are left having to assume that a rescue mission to a Cobra prison was like mounted off panel. And basically the Fred Van Lente G.I. Joe book is like IDW G.I. Joe's All Hail Megatron, except imagine if Simon Furman had still been writing stories set during All Hail Megatron at the same time, because like he was still doing Max Dinobots.
Oh God!
But imagine if instead Simon Furman had been continuing his stories in the same time frame as All Hail Megatron, and you get kind of an idea of what a bit of a sort of like shit show in terms of continuity the Volume 3 era of IDW Joe is. Like the Van Lente book itself isn't that bad, but basically it pays very little heed to anything going on outside of itself.
Oh, that's going to be painful. It's going to be painful for me, at least. Ugh.
So, I mean, I suppose Castle Destro being here in Scotland does kind of, suggest that, it got moved to Russia, and then in reasonably short order, like, it would have to be within, like, a year, thinking about, like, the way the sort of timelines work out in that period. But, within a year, it then got moved back to Scotland, where it originally started out. But
I'm the kind of writer who would just say, there's multiple Castle Destros. Done. I don't care if
So,
that's
yeah.
stupid.
It's actually, wait, just thought, is that like the shark flying?
I mean, I don't have the issue in front of me, so I can't.
Yeah, and like final page, we've got the Thunderhawk flying in, and then a second car, which that's got to be the shark, isn't it? Except it's flying. But yeah.
Well, to be fair, the shark was shown to fly in Revolution.
Oh wait, was it? Oh, I guess
yeah.
it must. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess there was no water in or around Autobot City, was there? So no, I had forgotten that was a thing completely.
Yeah, which I hate to say it, also makes the shark literally the most versatile vehicle in the entire M.A.S.K lineup.
Yeah.
It flies, it drives, it goes underwater, it has giant cannons coming out of it. It's the ultimate vehicle. Like,
maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not quite as good at flying as the Thunderhawk. Perhaps.
Well, yeah. Oh, wait, hold up. I gotta pull this up again. Because I bought it digitally, so I gotta.
Yeah.
And I just exited out of the tab, so I gotta. But I gotta look at something. We gotta double check the color.
Oh, it's underlit. It's a sort of. I think it's grey. Is all you can see, okay. But it's also night time.
All I'm gonna say is that if it's white, I'm gonna scream.
I think it's basically white. It's coloured grey, and it's nighttime. So. So yeah, it's clearly the shark has like that electronic colour changing paint from like animated stuff. Just Gloria Baker can just like pick what colour the shark is, just as it takes her fancy on a day-by-day basis.
Okay, I guess I'll accept that. But yeah, First Strike is like good. It's fun. It's really, I really like it. I think that will just about bring this episode to a close.
I think it does. Yeah. So, let me check. So, next episode in 2 weeks' time, we will, assuming things stay to the current projected release dates, we will be looking at Optimus Prime number 10 and G.I. Joe 8, which are out next week. We've had... Actually, have we had a preview of G.I. Joe 8? Maybe. Maybe I just need to go look for it. We've definitely seen Optimus Prime 10. That is hotly anticipated, I think, now that we've... especially now we've seen the full-length preview. I mean, yeah, okay, we won't go into it at length because we're just stealing content from our future selves. But, yeah, Optimus Prime 10, very hotly anticipated, I think.
And Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook number 3, right?
Yeah, oh, yes, Hasbro Heroes Sourcebook number 3, wrapping that off. But yeah, and also, I certainly am hotly anticipating G.I. Joe 8 because I really hope that Quick Kick is going to beat the crap out of Snake Eyes.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be good to see. Especially because Snake Eyes, as I have found in reading G.I. Joe, is a dick. Dick. I hate him.
I gather this is sort of true of most Snake Eyeses, but yeah, IDW Snake Eyes is the worst. He's just,
it's just a dick.
Yeah, whenever there's trouble, like G.I. Joe is there, and Snake Eyes has run off by himself to try and fix it by himself because he thinks he's better than everyone else. And then, later on, maybe Helix is there too, in order to have one-sided conversations to explain to the audience what Snake Eyes is thinking. Like, it's so weird the way that like old IDW Joe stuff treated Helix and Snake Eyes. She just sort of like she follows him around like a puppy, basically, and like Snake Eyes appears to just sort of vaguely tolerate her, and like doesn't seem to actually like her. And she just sort of hangs around, follows him around and sort of explains what he's thinking for the benefit of the audience. And like, One day, maybe Helix will get to go off and do her own thing, independent of Snake Eyes. Because especially after Revolution made me really like Helix. The way that Bomber and Bun wrote her in Revolution made me actually like her. So, yeah. But yeah, main event, quick kick beating up Snake Eyes. All for it. Go, go, go. And then the week after that, it looks like it is just going to be Misfits Infinite number 2, so part 4 of the crossover. So yeah, as far as I can tell, just one issue that week.
Okay. So it's going to be...
Yep, 4 issues.
Right.
And actually, and we never spend that long talking about the source book, so yeah, it's certainly not going to be as long as this 8-issue episode.
Yes, which I think... we had to drop the call, but I think we ended on 2.5 hours. No, wait, yeah, 2.5 hours.
It was over 2. It was over, yeah, definitely over 2.
Yeah, and so now we've gone for another half hour, so we've gone for 3 hours at this point. So,
yeah.
And it's funny because we were actually planning on recording a bonus episode after this, but I don't know if I'll have time, so we might have to pick that up next week or something.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But yeah, so that will bring this episode of Action and Adventure to a close. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to continue following us, you can find us on, of course, our home at the Allspark not the Allspark.com, just Allspark.com. Where you can discuss, where you can join our discussion thread in the Allspark forums and join in on our conversation. We have a great community over there talking about all the Hasbro Universe comics, not just Transformers. You can continue to follow. You can find more episodes on our Libsyn page, HasbroUniverse.libsyn.com, or you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, and of course our YouTube channel where we upload all of our content. And who knows, maybe we'll even have some extra bonus YouTube content, exclusive stuff. We'll see. And of course you can follow us on social media. Our Twitter is very active at HasbroU Podcast. You can also find us on Tumblr. Not as active as we would hope. We're trying to get better at that. But yeah, you can continue to follow us. Callum, where can our lovely listeners find you on the internet?
I can be found all over, so sort of your Twitters, your Tumblrs, your sort of Transformers forums, so primarily the Allspark, but I stick my head into TFW sometimes as well, against my better judgment. And yeah, all under my universal username, Jala Guy, Jala, like the Bionicle character Guy.
Yes. And of course, you can find me on Twitter at Daniel Adkins PRD. I'm on the Tumblrs at Daniel Adkins Blog. And of course, you can also find me editing the TF Wiki under the name Danny Boy and the IDW Hasbro Wiki under the name Daniel Adkins. Pretty much anytime you find a Daniel Adkins on the internet, it'll probably be me, unless it's like a felon or something, in which case that's definitely not me. I have never been convicted of a crime.
It's great having like statistically unusual name. It's so much easier to for people to look you up on stuff.
Yeah. Yes. But until next time, take care, and by the way, let me know which music I use to close this episode out on, because I still haven't decided what I'm going to use. I'm either going to use the Sergeant Savage opening or the Tron's commercial Micronauts. So I have to decide which I'm going to use. But thank you so much for listening, and we will see you all, or you will hear us all next time, whatever the words are. Point is, take care.
Yeah, bye.
1944, World War II. On the blazing battlefield, a legend was being born. Fighting soldier, mighty hero, Sergeant Robert Stephen Savage. Sergeant Savage, he fought the good fight until he was betrayed, captured by the enemy, an unstoppable evil empire, the Iron Army. Imprisoned, he was an unwilling test subject for genetic experimentation. His body chemistry was altered, and he was cryogenically frozen in time. He slept for 50 years, and when he woke, he was changed. Now, 50 years later, his archenemy is still at large. The evil General Blitz still commands the Iron Army. But Sergeant Savage is back in action, and the Screaming Eagles are at his side. D-Day. Headbanger. Grill. Tank. Mouse. And Dynamite. Savage strength, undying honor, fighting fury. From out of the past to save the future. Sergeant Savage and his Screaming Eagles.